Welcome back to Beyond the Headline, everyone. It's such a special day to be on the show because I'm here with the founders of Enrou, and Wang and Jessica Willison. And Jessica, thank you guys for being here.
Thanks for having us.
We are so excited to be here.
I'd love to kick off with a pretty basic question. Why should people shop at Enrou?
That's a great question. You want to take it?
Yeah, and I think today, people want to shop for things for meaning. And every purchase that you make has some type of effect, whether that's good or bad, positive or not. And being able to know where your purchases are coming from and how it's affecting the people making them, how it affects, the local communities, even the environment. I think it's really important for living together in a global society. So specifically for Enrou, we work with those in developing communities from around the world. And by purchasing from Enrou, you're actually able to provide job opportunities for them. So they're getting fair and ethical work that's safe, and proud, and dignified. So I think it's really important for us as consumers to know where our money is going toward and what kind of world we're voting for. And with Enrou, you have the ability to invest in people through the purchases that you make and everyday purchases that you would be making anyway. So that's one of the reasons why I shop Enrou.
Yeah, and I think adding on to that, it's pretty simple. I think, we're a marketplace of meaningful products crafted for you and your home that empower artisans, right? And so there's this twofold thing where you can find this unique, beautifully crafted item that is pretty hard to find typically. And at the same time, you know that you're investing in a person, and you also know that you're really adding value into how you curate your life because you're able to now own a product or share or give a product that really intimately reflects your philosophies and your values of creating a better world. So that's the why that we wake up for every day.
I think the giving aspect is so special too, because right when I learned about Enrou, I thought, all of my gifts have to come from here now, because you're not just gifting an item, which is still great. It's always nice to share something with someone, but to gift a story, to gift the opportunity to literally change a person's life.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think it's one of those aspects of a company that, we're lucky it's in our DNA. And we're lucky that we get to share this with consumers. Because I think a lot of my personal why of starting the company was I wanted this. I wanted a way for my actions in my everyday to have some sort of ripple effect and to really have a deeper, tangible impact on people's lives. And the fact now that you can have technology and you can have the ability to click a button and learn about a product and the person who made it and their family and their location and their geography and their culture, and be able to click and buy and actually immediately impact that person's livelihood for the X amount of hours of work that it creates, for me is like mind-blowing. And I know it's a company that I work on, but like the fact that we're now in a time that allows us to do that is incredible. And I think that consumers are more than ready for it, because they might not be waking up in the mornings and saying, I'm going to wake up today and do good by buying. That's still very rare, and we know that. We don't expect consumers to do good through shopping. That's not what we know our consumers to do. But I do think millennials wake up in the mornings and go, I really want to find a rich experience with what I'm buying. I really want to find something that has meaning and expression to my life the way that I really want to live it. And it's not about brands, and it's not about name brands or luxury brands. It's about connection and experience and meaning. And so I think that's where we really can have and own that conversation with the person.
I love that. And I think the storytelling is so critical to what you guys do. How have you approached it, and what have you learned that we really need to connect with someone who we may never meet?
Yeah. I think for us, it's really, the storytelling component breaks down to just relationships. And, we've done a lot of kind of our own interest research into, what are those moments that you learn about a person when you're getting to learn about them and know who they are that you can just really connect with. And I think hearing, stories as, similarities or, similar things you like to do, or, what one of our favorite questions to ask people is what are you passionate about? Because everybody has an amazing answer to that, and you see their eyes light up, and kind of hearing those parallel stories between your life and whoever that other person that you're learning more about. I think those are the moments when you find a lot of excitement for. So we really focus a lot of our storytelling on those components of drawing those parallels. It's not, us and them. It's a conversation of we, and just kind of learning more about a person as you would anybody that you get to meet along your life.
I love that you share it with the we, because I picked up on that in so many of the stories, particularly for the parents who are doing this to care for their kids. Mm-hmm. Because this is changing their life in a way that they might not have to see their child go hungry, because mm-hmm. they can work to provide food. Mm-hmm. For each of you, what is one of your favorite stories been?
That's such a hard question, because we work with so many incredible people. I think one of the ones that is personally my favorite, but also has a lot of kind of resonance. It's a very memorable story. We work with an organization called Article 22, and it's a beautiful jewelry line. It's based in Laos. And when you first go on the site and you find the product, it's absolutely stunning. You get to meet Pet, who created that product, and know that he has kids and he has this story that you can explore. But as you dive in deeper, you actually find out that this particular product is made from melted down bomb material that was dropped in Laos during the Vietnam War. So it is one of those things that is just like shaking, and so in the story itself, because it's something that was so destructive, now melted down and turned into something that's beautiful, and it's empowering, and it's actually creating livelihood as much as it is debombing local community land to create a safer area. So I just feel like, man, the fact that something like that exists needs to get out there, and that's why we really want to tell that particular story, and so much of our other brands have similar incredible stories like that.
Mm-hmm. How do you guys discover the brands that you partner with?
Yeah, so it's quite the exploration, I think, on my team. This is actually one of the main reasons why we created Enrou as the central marketplace of these brands, because it was difficult for customers to find these. I was working in the fashion industry at the time, specifically in editorial, so I was doing a lot of brand research just, for my own work and trying to find the coolest new brands out there constantly. So it was something I was already doing, but I didn't even know that this industry existed until Anne kind of brought me into it from her background of things. So for us, it made a lot of sense to create a central hub where it's easy to find in one place. That way my team is always looking for the brands and not the everyday customer. Doesn't have people. A lot of our recommendations come from referrals. People around us know that we're doing this, and so if they know of a brand or if they're traveling, they'll let us know. So we get a lot of referrals that way. We also get a lot of inquiries through Instagram. Surprisingly, that's a pretty popular place for us. We also get some inbound from people visiting our website, and we have an application. But then my team also does a lot of outbound research as well. We really want to make sure that we're getting the best products out there available in the market. So, it's honestly a lot of Google searching, and a lot of just talking to people and telling them about what they do. And, probably about half the time somebody will be like, oh, I know I've heard of something like this before. Maybe they might be a good fit. It's kind of a multiple tiered approach of how they come in, but it's really surprising and really exciting to see kind of the growth of the industry and the potential that there is within how many brands are out there. I think that was always one of the biggest challenges when we first started was, okay, so we know of these like 15 brands. Is there actually enough out there that we could really scale and grow this into something that can really make that true impact? And, it's been amazing to see that there is that breadth of potential brands out there who, stories need to just be brought to life because they're already incredible. So, yeah, that's how we do our sourcing.
I love that. And something that's so special with the way you guys ship things is if I make an order on the site and I buy 5 products, I could get a package with products from 5 different countries.
Mm-hmm.
That must be so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really exciting to open up and feel like you've been at least taken somewhere, and I think that there's so much culture and there's so much of this like contrast to the cultures that we work with. So it is a bit challenging as a brand to really take ownership of this like aesthetic that also has boutiques from, different areas to prints from India to amazing jewelry from, Guatemala. And it's just a matter of, for us, transporting somebody somewhere. I think there's a lot of people who really understand this concept because they personally traveled, and connecting with them on that level is amazing. So
it's great. I'd love to spend some time touching on your experiences building the company. You started when you were at UCLA. What's it been like the last year and a half, right?
Yeah.
Madness.
It lots of madness.
Blissful madness.
I don't know if it's a blissful madness. No, it's been absolutely great. I mean, I think looking back, we started day one in a little library conference room at UCLA, trying to make the background of our Skype call look good, which I guess right now is still just blank. But, moving from that to then going and being, very, very, very surprisingly invited to go pitch at Forbes 30 Under 30 and pitching there in front of some of the most incredible judges, from Troy Carter to, Steve Case to Mike Perlis, who are now our mentors and our advisors and very hands-on, to kind of, going through the ups and downs of releasing a brand new website to launching a new product to bringing on the right team members and learning a lot of lessons through all of that, and really challenging ourselves to elevate and sophisticate the brand and speak with our customers and not to them. I think that you guys see this very, beta and phase 1 of Enrou on the site right now, and we're really excited that we're launching kind of the 2.0 version of Enrou in a few months with the new branding and a new website. But it's always been so centered on one direction. We've done little pivots here and there. We've done pivots of the how are we going to get to our customer. But really, it's been so laser focused on knowing that Enrou is purely based around the concept of moving products to impact people. Mm-hmm. And that is all at the end of the day that we have to do. So it's been such a journey. Now, we're full-time here with Troy Carter at Atom Factory, and very, very happy and excited with the amount of investors and advisors and consumers that have really stepped up and joined us in this kind of crazy crusade. So,
what surprised you the most?
I think for me, the most surprising thing, actually, there's 2. I mean,
one has mine.
Just the logistics of how many different components are part of the business.
Can't even imagine.
You know that there's a lot, but then when you're actually into it, you're like, oh shoot, wait, you need to think about this too. So I think that's just been surprising. Is just the magnitude of different things that it takes to run a business, which was expected, but it's still overwhelming. I think the second component really just comes down to, I was really surprised to see how much people are willing to be helpful in this. And, we started off young. We've never done this before. We had this crazy dream, and the amount of support that we've experienced along the way has truly blown me away. And I saying that I'm thankful for it doesn't feel like enough, because it's just been an incredible journey to meet people and speak with, these incredible minds that I would never have thought to have the opportunity to learn from, and to see how willing they are to do so has been so humbling, I think, for me.
Yeah.
It's everything. I've had a similar experience, and in the beginning when someone said, I'd love to help, I was, not that I was taken back, but I was like, really?
Yeah.
You don't mind? And the number of people who offer to help you, it is overwhelming, and it makes you feel so good and supported.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pleasant surprise. It's a blessing for sure.
Definitely.
What are some of the best pieces of advice, maybe one for each of you, that you've received since starting?
Really good advice. I mean, I think for me, something that I still live by is really ask good questions to the right people. It's something that my dad taught me for a really long time. He's an entrepreneur, and he came like as an immigrant to the country, didn't speak any English. Like, how do you learn how to build a company? And really, how do you even fight the battles you don't know are ahead of you? I think one of the key things that is terrifying as an entrepreneur is that you don't know what you don't know. You have no clue, right? Like, it's foggy and you see like a foot in front of you, but you have no idea what's coming, and so you have to be prepared in this kind of like fully catastrophic way. I just feel like it's really about finding the right people to learn from, and then putting a lot of discipline and passion behind figuring out the right questions.
I love that. Can you dive in a little deeper there? I love that from one of your past interviews too, about asking the right questions. What are the right questions? How do you figure them out?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, starting off, I think asking the right questions means that you've done your homework. It means that you have fought your way through a lot of information, and you've probably learned more from the process of looking for that question than just even, trying to learn it on your own. So I think that it's a lot of strategy, right? You have to know who you're talking to in terms of who you're asking the question to. How are you actually going to get the right information from this personality type? So there's that kind of strategy level that helps you get to a good question. And then I think the secondary piece to it is, how do you get specific enough in a question that gives you valuable action items for you to take away? If you ask a question and you know that the answer is going to be very broad and stressful because you won't know where to go from that answer, it's probably not a good question. So it's simple. Do your homework, dive in, really understand a topic to your maximum capacity. Discipline yourself with picking the top 4 questions that you just can't figure out on your own. Really state them in a way that creates a very specific answer back for you, and make sure that there's a takeaway action on that. What are you going to do with this information? That for me is really difficult, but oftentimes I'll find that just through that process, I have way less questions, and can also impress the other person that I'm talking to. And if I know a little bit about it, and I know that I'm asking good questions and they're impressed by it, they're probably more likely to dive in deeper on the topic and more likely to give you more information without you really digging in. So, yeah.
And I also think, when you ask those really great questions, that kind of stop the person and say, oh, I've never been asked that. Or, I think it kind of builds the rapport, and you can kind of really let them show off their expertise, which everybody, appreciates sharing, is something that they're very passionate about in the first place, or else they wouldn't be experts in that area. So I think that's also a really great opportunity as you're asking questions.
Can you guys share an example of that for an entrepreneur listening in, of a question that you've asked, whatever industry it's been in, that's been really helpful?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, from kind of an operator standpoint, I love asking people moments of like, when did they have to fight? like, how did they fight? You know, and that's a very odd question, and it's not so much of like being desperate or, you know, what, but getting a sense of war stories from very specific industries and being, you know, a few steps ahead of that problem have been really helpful for me. So, you know, for example, if you're an entrepreneur, one of the weirdest experiences that you have to go through is incorporating a business. Like, it's just weird, you know, it's not natural. Like, there's so much information. Do you pay a lawyer? Do you not? You don't have any money. How do you do this correctly? How do you protect yourself? How do you even know what to file? There are so many questions there. There are so many questions. And you could sit with somebody who's done it before and literally go down a list of like 90 questions. But is that really going to be worth your time? Is that really going to be valuable to the other person? Probably not. You know? And so for me, the question that I asked is, it's like, okay, post incorporation, what were the biggest lessons you learned after you incorporated? How did it protect you? Why did it protect you? Does it even matter? You know, what would you have done differently post your incorporation? Because the results of what happened for me are more telling than the process itself. Mm. So that's just something, that's like a really boring example, but that's something that I have found. Like,
it's not boring at all because you have to do it. And it's like you said, there's so many things with a business that you have to do. And when you're just starting out, like, even it's like, well, how do I buy a website? There's so many questions that you have.
How do I, you know? And I think sometimes the fear is knowledge can be swapped in for spending money. If you don't have the knowledge, you spend money to figure it out, or you get a lawyer to do it, or you hire somebody to do it. That's extremely dangerous because there is so much that you don't know, and there is way less resources. So you really have to know how to ask the right questions and know what areas you truly have to spend money to gather either knowledge or support on operating.
How about on the other end of that? Since you guys started, what's the hardest question you've been asked?
Ooh, it's a good question. Jess, what do you think? Anything that comes to mind? I mean, I feel like
nothing comes to mind immediately.
I feel like some of the hardest questions that I get asked about my experience is, it's like, tell me about the overall like journey of your experience. I know we kind of talked about that, but for some reason that's a very difficult question for me to answer because it varies every day so much. Mm-hmm. The highs and lows of being an entrepreneur is crazy. And so when I get asked that, and I think people expect, you know, at certain stages for starters to be like, we're growing and this is massive and we're just here. And it's like so much of our growth and experience is a roller coaster, and that's okay. So I find that question very hard because there's not an overall umbrella answer to that.
It's so true.
And so it's like, I don't know. It's hard because it's not very specific for me. And then in terms of the business, you know, I think that there's some key questions that we've been challenged with as a company. And one of those is, you know, people do not wake up thinking that they are going to look for social good shopping. That's challenging. But people do wake up and go, I want a pair of jeans, so I'm going to go online and buy a pair of jeans because I know that this company exists. There's no window shopping in e-commerce. So I think one of the biggest things that we've really challenged our team with is, what is the impetus for people coming to Enrou and buying? What and how are we going to create such an engaging story that people are going to wake up and say, I want to go to Enrou because of X, Y, and Z? And I think we've really now figured out what works is the consumer really wants to come to Enrou and be inspired to live in this meaningful and intentional and mindful lifestyle. And that is the why that they're coming to Enrou. So answering that question early on was tough.
I love that. And we've talked a lot about questions, so I actually want to shift to what happens after you ask the question. You shared this in a past interview, and I loved it when you talked about avoiding advisor whiplash.
Yeah.
Before we dive into how to do that, can you tell everyone what that is?
Yeah. Ooh. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. We were in an accelerator program called Smash Labs. So that's Troy Carter's accelerator. It's 10 weeks. It's an incredible opportunity to meet with some of the most amazing mentors. You have Brian Lee from Honest Company. You have Snoop Dogg's team come in. You have Linkin Park's team come in. And you have the head of Coca-Cola's advertising. So it is the best cream of the crop people in creative and branding and tech. And so everybody has a unique perspective. Everybody has passion for Enrou, which is, again, a blessing. And I think when you ask the right questions and have them consistent across advisors, you will get very different answers. Mm-hmm. And you will want to trust them. Absolutely, and you should. But what it is when you get one direction from somebody and you have clarity for 20 minutes, and somebody else comes in and goes, I love what you're doing. I've seen it, like, you have this huge opportunity. This is your opportunity. Or then you have somebody else who's just like, no. It's not about marketing to the lifestyle consumer. It's about talking about your cause and your purpose. And that's your big value proposition. And then somebody else coming in and being like, nobody's going to buy off of cause. You have to build the Kinfolk Bloomingdales of e-commerce. And so that's whiplash, right? Because you can trust somebody and really, really believe in what they're saying, but at the end of the day, you have to pick north for your own company. Mm-hmm. So that's what it is. I don't know if that answers.
No, it's perfect, because as you're describing it, I'm like literally recalling all of these experiences when I also had like 20 minutes of clarity. Like, I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah. And then you like look at your whiteboard again.
Yeah.
Crap, you know? And so we went through that, and I think we were warned about it by an advisor in the past, so we were a little bit like less stressed out in kind of the tug-of-war of different advice. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know your company the best. If anybody tells you otherwise, they are incorrect. Investors do not know your company better than you. Advisors do not know your company better than you. Consumers probably know what your company should be for them better than you. But at the end of the day, you know the DNA of what you're doing, and you know the DNA of where it needs to go. So that is how you deal with advisor whiplash. You have to know your why so strongly, and the how will change, and the how is where we got a lot of whiplash, and we're still figuring it out. You know, we're still figuring out, with all of the lessons that we learned from some of the greatest people, how do we focus, how do we prioritize, and how do we really create something that is going to drive growth on a level that we know we need at this moment. And, you know, be confident in those decisions that you're making.
Let me know if you figure out a silver bullet to that, okay?
All right. And then we'll market it and package it. You know, that is the golden ticket, I think.
2 more questions for you guys before we go. The first one, whether at Enrou or in your past experiences, what are some parts of your journey that you haven't had the opportunity to talk about but are really meaningful to you?
Ooh. I think for me, something that has been so meaningful has been traveling. So I studied abroad when I was in college. And I think one of the moments that I think about so often because of, or at Enrou, what we're doing now, is I was in Morocco, and we were, about 40 minutes outside of the main town, in this tiny little area. They had a little, tent tourist setup thing. It was really cool, but we were driving back from the town, and we saw these kids who were just playing outside, and it was like a Wednesday, the middle of the day, and somebody in our group had asked our tour guide, why aren't these kids in school? And he was like, well, there's not really that many opportunities for the kids in this area to, even if they were to go to school, what are they going to do afterward? It doesn't really provide, that much in the investment of these children. Even if they were to go to school. So I think in that moment, it was kind of like this like, this shock of I've only known one thing. Education is like the key to everything in life. Like you have to have a good education. And it was like the realization that education wasn't always the answer across the board in every scenario, but then also, what is opportunity, and what does that mean for a person's future? So I think that story has been really impactful to me to kind of understand different perspectives of how life is for others, and then also the importance of what it means to have a job, and what that can do for an individual, but then also their community as a whole.
That's huge. And it's something that you don't think about every day. For most of us who are blessed, be here and have a job and have food to eat, it's not something we think of all these other stresses that are really so minuscule compared.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's like, I think that's one of the stories and one of the aha moments that people have with Enrou. So, and then I think for me, on the entrepreneurial side, for anybody who's listening that is kind of terrified of this journey, something that I've actually seen is frowned upon in the entrepreneur space is vulnerability. And I find that is so wrong, because investors, advisors, your team, like when you're actually vulnerable and when you're open and you're looking for support, or you're honest or humble about where you are and what you need and the help you need, that's truly when people will step up and trust you and support you. And it's a struggle that I've had, is because I'm always like, nope, like everything's like perfect and we're fine and this is good. And investors, a lot of investor meetings, people want to feel like, man, it's confidence and it's cockiness and it's blah blah blah, and there's no chance. And yeah, there's a level of that. I think that needs to be this like very subtle, humble sense of confidence. Mm-hmm. But investors like to see where you are going to grow. Investors like to see how they're going to help you get there, how their knowledge and their support and strategy is going to help you get there. And team members, same. Like, you really have to know when it is the right time to be vulnerable. And that's just something that I don't feel like anybody ever talks about in the interviews of entrepreneurs. And I think that it is something that will help you stand out. It'll help you get further, and it will make the journey a little less lonely if you're able to have those moments.
I love that. And it's so important. It really just comes down to, of course, easier said than done, but just be human. Like if humans have emotions, and if something happens, be honest about it. Don't break down if it's not something very intense, but if someone really asks you, how are you? Share an honest answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, last one for you guys. If you could give everyone a fortune cookie with your favorite saying inside, what would you write?
Oh, man.
No pressure.
No pressure. I have one of my favorite sayings. Probably wouldn't fit on the fortune cookie.
That's okay. It's our own fortune cookie. It's as many lines as we want.
I really like, especially as an entrepreneur, one of my favorite sayings is, dance the dance you dance. Don't dance the dance people who dance.
Holy crap.
I like it, one, because of the play on words. I think it's so fun. But in its like essence of what it means is kind of be yourself and do the things that make you special. And I think especially when it comes kind of back to the Adviser Whiplash that Anna was talking about, people have done similar things before, and they might, have a way to dance, right? And they might tell you, this is how you should dance. But when it comes down to it, trusting in yourself and your vision and how you dance is really what's going to set you apart. Everybody talks about value proposition in entrepreneurship, and your dance is your own personal value proposition. So I love that saying.
I love it. I'm glad you explained it too. First I was like, whoa.
You have to see it written down and like think about it for a little bit, and then like it helps. But
it makes me start forgetting like what the word dance means because the amount of times, you know what I mean, when that happens, we're like, wait, what? For me, this is so cheesy, and I'm like really trying hard to think of another one, but for me right now it's like Maya Angelou has a quote where she talks about it's not about what you say or what you do, or I don't even know the exacts of it, but it's really what you make people feel that they will remember. And for me, that was actually very pivotal in the company, because I think for a long time we kept doing, and we kept moving and trying to get people to see what we were doing. And we forgot for a few months what it means to make somebody feel something. Mm-hmm. And so as we grow and as we're seeing this huge pivot in the company, everything is about feel. How are you making our creators feel? How are we making our team feel? How are we making our consumers radically feel differently in their lives? And that's what I want to do. That's my creative happy place. And I like literally the story of where that even came up from is like, I think I saw it written in a bathroom somewhere, and I was like, that's my
there moment, it is.
My thing. And you're just, it's like so embarrassing, but
we were actually together, and she goes, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. And I was like, did you just have a bathroom stall revelation? And she like joking, and she was like, yes.
It was amazing. Yeah.
It was really funny.
So
I love both of those, and I think it's the perfect way to wrap up. Before we go, what's the best way for everyone to stay up to date with everything you guys are working on, and to really dive into Enrou and see where they can shop and what they like, because you guys have so many options on the platform?
Yeah, we have so many great products. Best ways to actually go on the site and sign up for our newsletter. We do a lot of great storytelling. Again, that's going to be changing and shifting through the next couple of months, so it's going to be really fun to see the progression. Plus, you get a little perk when you sign up. And our Instagram is also really great to follow. We do a lot of engagement and a lot of activations on there. We'll be doing some really cool giveaways with other great companies coming up this month. And so there's a chance to win a lot of amazing stuff. Yeah. I'm sad that I'm disqualified, but those are the two best ways to do it, emails and Instagram.
Fantastic. Thank you guys so much. It's been such a pleasure to be with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.